right, everybody. I got my stank face on for that rock and roll intro. Welcome back to the Fallout Lorecast. I am here, your host, Tom, also known as Robots, with my co-host, my wonderful and beautiful daughter, and intelligent, and all the other things that you say about somebody when you want to compliment them. Lainey, welcome back. How's it going?
It's going good. I finally started Fallout 76 today.
Awesome.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about that just for a second. We are having a very, very special show today because those of you who are watching live at twitch.tv/robotsradio will not only be able to see this episode as we record it, like usual, on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but after the show, Lainey has created a new character. She's got Fallout 76 on PC. She will be joining us in the world of Appalachia to find out what's going on. You don't know a ton about the game yet, I don't think.
I really don't.
There are things that have not been spoiled for you. So we're going to get to do that. So after this episode, right after this episode, we will be streaming the Lainey's playthrough. I might create a new character as well. You already created a character and you asked me for some name choices and you went with none of them. But
I know
I'm going to go through my list because I think maybe our listeners would have voted for one of mine rather than what you went with.
Please use one. Honestly, if someone makes a character with one, like, send it to us.
These are great names. I don't know why you didn't. Okay, so she decided to go with Hope because Hope was the only thing that didn't come out of Pandora's box, right? And
that's my username on everything, right? It's a play on Pandora.
Right. And what was the other idea? Around
it's
Hope?
just really funny to think that like Hope's gonna come beat you up, right? It's like,
yes. You got shot in the face by Hope. Congratulations. Yeah, it's kind of ironic, right? So here are my suggested names here. We have, thank you, Toon. Toon's rating here with 36 people. Welcome, Tooniversal. Welcome, Tooniversal friends. We are right at the beginning of recording the Fallout Lorecast. Welcome. Thanks for being here. And we're talking about right after this stream, right after we record this episode of the show, we're talking about the Zetans today. We will be taking Lainey into the world of Fallout 76 on PC. So you guys are welcome to join us. You can come play with us in game. You can stay for the stream. You can hang out.
Thanks for the follow, buddy.
Thanks for the follow. I'm sure a lot of those things will be popping up. So let's get into the names that I offered Lainey as names for her character that she decided not to go with. All of you guys are welcome to use these because they're completely open. I'm sure nobody else has been using these yet. So she wrote me a message earlier and was like, what should I name my character? And sent me a picture of her character's face. You know, very attractive female looking character, maybe some scars a little bit, looks like on the face. Buddy. And my first suggestion was Poopsmith Cauliflower. What'd you think of that one, Lainey?
Well, you spelled cauliflower wrong. I didn't know if that was on purpose or not, but I didn't call you out for it.
Yeah, I was typing in my phone real quick. I don't know, but it was like Colly flower, which seems prettier than Kali with an I flower.
Yeah,
so you didn't go with that one. You didn't like that one, probably because of the Poopsmith part, right? My next option for her was Dr. Zelda McHemroid.
Classy name.
Old timey.
That's a smart person.
That's a smart person. She's a doctor, right? Then Lady Dukington. Going along with the whole poop thing here. And then Turd Ferguson, which I just had to throw in there because we were doing the poop thing. And then St. Elmo S. Fire. Non-poop joke, but a saint. That's kind of cool. And then just completely went off the deep end with Deadly Yet Silent. That one was a joke. These other ones were clearly legitimate offers. So if you guys want to use any of these, you're welcome to use them. So let's move on to our actual show and start talking about some Zetans. So this week, we're talking about everybody's favorite cuddly little friendly visitors from a faraway world, the Zetans. Zetans? Zeta? Zetans? Zetans.
Right, it's Zeta like the letter.
Yeah. So Lainey's been doing some research. She's been digging up some stuff about the Zetans. Lainey, why don't you take this away? I know you have some thoughts on this.
Sure. So Aliens are in pretty much every Fallout game. You'll encounter at least one somewhere if you're lucky. In the world of Fallout, it was unclear for a while if the aliens were like actually separate from other wasteland things happening. Some players speculated that maybe either they were created kind of like super mutants were, or they were affected by radiation, like ghouls may have been, but this isn't the case. If you look into information you can find about these aliens in the games, not just the Zetans, but the other ones as well, because there are other ones. You'll find aliens? That they were there.
What?
Other aliens. Spoilers.
Spoilers.
You'll find that they were there long before the Great War even happened, and actually some of the really cool technology that we're familiar with came from and was inspired by alien tech.
Okay.
It's pretty neat.
Okay. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So before the Great War happened, America was just doing its thing. And of course, some people believed in aliens, some people didn't, but it wasn't really clear if they existed or not, or if they had visited Earth or not.
Yeah, very, very kind of common pre-war mentality, late 20th century. Oh, there's aliens. No, you're silly. There aren't aliens. But I saw a flying saucer. They have to be real. But that story is just fake. That whole debate thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so they definitely didn't acknowledge aliens as a real possibility, at least on like a government level, as far as people could tell, until the space race, where a space capsule, a United States space capsule, the Clarabella 7, and its astronauts, I guess, specifically astronaut Colonel Hartigan is who the game references, are abducted by aliens. Mm-hmm. And suddenly, poof, they're gone, and people have to acknowledge that aliens do exist in this world.
So this is specifically, at least the government is now aware that something's going on up here in space.
Yeah, because, if you have someone just absolutely stolen, it's a space race. What an inconvenient time to have an astronaut just
disappear. Yeah, but I'm sure you could claim that, it was the Russians or the Chinese or whoever, right. Oh, yeah, it wasn't aliens. This terrible thing happened in space because of our adversaries on Earth rather than aliens. It's a pretty easy cover-up.
Point, people started really speculating on it, and it became pretty widely accepted that the US government was not only researching these aliens, but keeping them in Area 51 and keeping the spacecraft and studying it.
So similar to real world conspiracy, right. Alien conspiracy theory type stuff.
Thanks for the follow, buddy.
Absolutely. And they found one in particular that they saved this spacecraft, though they found it and they found the aliens, and another ship came in to take the spacecraft back, and they got it and they flew out and they accidentally crashed it again in California.
Right. So they came into Area 51 in Nevada in order to recover the crashed spacecraft and maybe the bodies, and then crashed in California. So
they ended up not getting it back and giving people more fuel to the alien fire. It's also speculated that the Enclave started using alien technology as inspiration for their technology, like I referenced, much before the Great War happened, influencing the kinds of weaponry you might find throughout the games as you play, especially if you are in Fallout 3, for example, and you're dealing with the Enclave a lot.
Yeah, and that makes sense because we know that the Enclave was tied to the U.S. government, that they were movers and shakers inside the U.S. government, outside U.S. government, but they're the kinds of people who probably were tied to advances in technology and maybe secret knowledge. So it makes sense that they would have had access to whatever the government had been able to recover from these crash sites.
Right. The Brotherhood of Steel also has been found to have some alien artifacts, but not quite as many, it seems. But they aren't the only ones who had it, and those both are pretty, those are pretty large factions. Especially the Brotherhood of Steel, but then the Enclave even is it's the government. These are pretty large groups of people. Mm-hmm. But they weren't the only ones that were working with alien tech. Toy companies before the war were also working with this alien tech. Who knows how they got their hands on it? But apparently the company that invented Giddy Up Buttercup, the only toy that we know of from this company, it's called Wilson's Automatoys. And sometimes they called it like Atomatoys, right? Like Automatoys. They respelled it later on. They invented Giddy Up Buttercup. It's just your little horse friend. But apparently they were also playing around with alien tech. No clue what they made with it. They never go any farther into that in the games. Yeah. Pretty strange.
So somebody behind the scenes at that company must have been somebody who was also in the know when it came to government secrets. Maybe somebody who had previously worked in the government, somebody who had a side company, something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these companies that are referenced in Fallout that we don't get a whole lot of background on, that have very little in the way of in-game dialogue or computer terminals with information about them. There are some that we get a lot of that stuff, like Robco and a lot of the names that but then these smaller companies like Wilson's Automatoys is a much lesser known entity. But the idea that so even a little company like that was making Giddy Up Buttercup was tapping into alien technology in some ways is interesting. It just goes to show that this was more predominant in pre-war America than we may have been aware of.
Yeah, it seems like, people are, when I was doing this research, it really seemed like people were finding this alien technology all over, the pre-war America, which is so interesting to me. I think it makes me wonder, if aliens exist. Well, I think they exist. If aliens have touch base on our planet.
Right. Well, that's one of the conspiracy tropes, right? This idea that the way that the Cold War was able to move forward so quickly with technology was because of alien technology that we stole. The reason we were able to develop stealth planes in the 60s was because, there's all of these kinds of things that real world conspiralists use as evidence, quote unquote, and of course they're all speculation, as to the actual use of alien technology. Even things like plastics or some of the other things some of the other advances that we've been moving forward with. It makes me wonder if so. One of the things we know in the world of Fallout is that there was a severe lack of oil, and that the United States was able to. They never had the miniaturization of technology into small solid state circuit boards and things like that. But they were able to harness the power of nuclear power for things like cars and even larger things even around the home, robots, automation, those kinds of things. And I have to wonder if somehow the alien presence was able to help them along that direction rather than the miniaturization direction. And maybe that's one of the reasons why miniaturization never happened, was because it didn't need to. They were able to have an alternate power source, and so they never had to invest in researching an alternate power source or technology to go around with it.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. And it makes sense, right? If they have the means to move in a different direction, why spend it makes sense that they would put on a different path.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, we in our current world have focused on miniaturization, battery technology, but it hasn't been until recently that we've put a lot of effort into things like wind and solar and batteries also, and some of these other technologies. If we were to come up against a lack of, say, oil 20, 30 years ago in a way that we didn't in the real world, how much further along would we be with these advances by now if it was something that was more important for our own ability to move forward? It just comes down to effort and time,
Yeah. And so, as I mentioned, there are a few different kinds of aliens in these games. Well, the only one that's really defined is the Zetans. The rest of them are just your generic aliens. They're not specified whether they are part of the Zetans or not. But it doesn't seem like they are, because we know who the Zetans are. They're it was an expansion. It's a major part of that game.
We got to spend time on their spaceship and actually deal with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So while the Zetans are pretty well known, right? They're easily identifiable. They're behind you right now in that little image. If you're watching the stream.
Yeah.
You can see they're very traditional looking aliens.
I'm also going to pull up images while we talk. That's not it. That's the video. Go on.
Yeah, they have the green skin. Sorry, and they have the big heads, and those are very classic, just like Hollywood aliens. It's exactly what you would expect, and it's really easy to identify them. There's no question that they're aliens and not other wasteland creatures.
Right.
If you played the Fallout 3 Mothership Zeta add-on, then you're already familiar with this. But I'm going to go over the events kind of what happens in that and the kinds of people you meet along the way and what that means for aliens in the Fallout universe. Essentially, you come across a crashed ship and you end up abducted by another ship, like a recon ship that has gone to either, save parts, save possibly alive aliens, or just abduct you. It seems like they've been abducting lots of people. Mm-hmm. And that's what they do. They come to Earth to experiment on humans and study humans because similarly to people who've run tests to create super mutants, they also want to create a stronger version of themselves, a stronger version of humans. They're melding the DNA together. Which is a very traditional alien trope, this idea that they're going to abduct people and like put the alien DNA in, right, whatever that means for the story. Right. In this case, they create these half human, half alien abominations. That's what they're called, is abominations, and they truly are. They look terrifying. They look like if you took an alien and then like stretched out all the bits in a way that is unnatural, and they're just kind of like lanky but also big. It's not pretty. Mm-hmm. They do this in order to create these people into biological weapons. They want to use them either in their own space wars, Star Wars, if you will.
Star Wars.
Or if they want to put them on Earth, it's really unclear because you don't see them encountering anyone else other than humans, but really, how would you? Mm-hmm. But when you play this add-on, you are not the only human still on the ship. And you have to escape. You can't stay on the ship. I mean, you can.
You could.
But
I mean, you could just stay in your cell and never leave.
At what cost, though?
A lot of your own personal time and boredom.
So, on the ship, you encounter a lot of people, and they try to help you escape. You also encounter these abominations. You have to fight them. And they're comparable to zombies, essentially. They don't really have any thoughts other than that they see you and they want to eat you, kind of like ghouls. They're really similar to other creatures we encounter, where they just want to go after you. They don't function like a normal person. And you would think that really they are just a monster, except for that when you kill them, sometimes...
Uh-oh, we lost Lainey. She dropped off. Hold on a second. I'm sure she'll come back. Oh, are you back? Hi. We lost video on you. There you are.
Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know. It's my bad. Okay.
Internet, internet.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
But yeah, so if you kill them, they will sometimes thank you for it, which means that somewhere in these abominations' heads, their past humans still exist, which is absolutely tragic.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That idea of like, thank you for putting me out of my misery. Ooh. That's dark. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really scary. I mean, and people question that you see it with things like zombies and zombie media and literature. Right. This idea that sometimes, right, most of the time you assume that a zombie is completely brainless, but sometimes you might encounter one that's really struggling, or like while they're transitioning this battle of like, what do you do? Are they still in there?
Is there something it's still awful. from the original person still underneath? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you meet other people, like I've mentioned, and you meet a good variety. Some of them are from the wasteland, and so you encounter a raider. Or I think it's a slaver in particular. This is Fallout 3. And she's one of the first people who really helps you. I think she's your cellmate, But either way, she kind of leads you in the right direction to start escaping. And then on your way out, you meet a handful of other people, such as a little girl, as well as a cowboy from the Wild West days.
Right. Yep.
And even a samurai.
A samurai, who is the oldest character in Fallout history. He's probably the earliest that we know of a division between our timeline and the Fallout timeline, is probably the abduction of that character.
Right, which is interesting. Encountering him is interesting because he can't speak English, of course. And so everyone else on the ship can communicate other than the aliens, and he can't, which sounds really lonely. Also, they cryogenically freeze the people on there. The reason that the samurai is still alive is because they've cryogenically frozen them, which is something that Vault Tech also does. If you play Fallout 4, that's the beginning of the game.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it is kind of interesting to think that cryogenic freezing of bodies for preservation exists both on the Zetan ship and also in Vault 111.
Makes you wonder. Maybe they had something. But yeah, it's having the samurai on the ship really goes to show that aliens are not a product of the wasteland at all, and absolutely had been there for way longer than even just before the Great War. They'd been there since, long enough to have a samurai, but possibly even longer than that.
400 years, I believe, was the time period that he came from. It was the 1600s or something like that in Japan. Yeah. So, yeah, they've been around for a long time, potentially influencing world events. And of course, some of the very early episodes of this podcast, I even talked about speculation around, I should have worn my shirt with I have a shirt. I'm wearing the Fallout Hub shirt today. I have a shirt on the store that says, who dropped the bombs? Aliens. And there's a Mr. Handy with the big hair, like the aliens guy from the History Network or whatever that is. And yeah, there's a shirt you can get on the Robots Radio store. You should go look it up. But yeah, that was something speculated very early on, was that maybe the aliens were behind the dropping of the bombs. And there's some evidence for that they may have infiltrated and effectively taken over the minds of some of the soldiers and actually initiated that. But then again, there's lots of evidence for other things too. So who do we really know? I don't know.
Something else to consider in terms of who all really had access to alien tech before the bombs went off is that Nuka World even has animatronics inspired by the Zetans as an exhibit. Like, you can go and see them. It's part of the fun of Nuka World is that you can see some aliens inspired by these aliens that actually do exist in the game. So that's interesting as well.
Right.
Just how many things did they really influence? It seems like they're everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Like there must have been a general sense of what aliens look like among the populace.
Right.
Probably based on real, actual events.
And, for us looking at them, the design of these aliens is pretty basic. It's not hard to be like, oh, maybe they just maybe it's a coincidence. But for this universe, it was set up in this way. This is a direct callback to the Zetans. You also find out in Fallout 76 that they have a little something else working with them. If any of you are into cryptids and know about the Flatwood monster in Fallout 76, it's a creature that actually works with the Zetans. Even though it doesn't seem necessarily related to aliens, it kidnaps and mind controls humans in order to help abduct them.
That seems to be the case, yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty terrifying.
Right. And he seems to be left on the planet without necessarily a way home, as far as we can tell. We need to dive into the cryptids on some future episodes. I think those would be really, really cool episodes, especially as Halloween is getting closer. And I can't wait for you jumping into Fallout 76 to run into your first Flatwoods monster. I have seen it maybe 3 times in the wild in the game, and I have played, I don't know, 400 or 500 hours of the game. So there are very rare creatures that you come across on occasion. The different types of Mothmen, a number of these cryptids that you come across are actually very, very rare. And sometimes when you come across them, it's a little bit of a surprise. So I can't wait for you to stumble on one and just see what happens. One event where I did come across a Flatwoods monster, he must have glitched out. He was just hanging out on top of like a hill below me. So I was looking down a ravine, and then there was up another hill and then down again. And he was just like hanging out on the ravine, not moving. And he wasn't doing anything. He was just sitting there floating around with his purple lights. And I could go up to him and kind of look at him, and he didn't react. I turned back around, and he disappeared. He was just gone, which was super spooky. But I think the game glitched out, like he wasn't actually there, but it was still showing his model. And then when it refreshed that frame or something, wherever he wasn't there anymore. And then I reloaded because I quick saved, I died. I died because you can't save in 76. I died and came back to that location, and instead it was like a bear. It's like the game spawned in a bear on that spot instead of the Flatwoods monster. And I was like, crap. I was hoping I'd come across, the Flatwoods monster again. Yeah. So that's one of my stories. I can't wait to have some of your own stories playing this game. I'm
really excited to get into it.
Yeah. So, I see in the show notes that you have other alien encounters as well. So what else do we know about other alien encounters in these games?
So there's a few other ones. In 2161, the Brotherhood of Steel found unidentified alien bodies in a spacecraft. I think it was like 3 aliens or something like that. But it's expected that they found many more than that. That's just record of one spacecraft they encountered. But really, they've been kind of stockpiling and using alien tech and researching this more than we know. Which is kind of the theme for all of this, is just, we have no idea. But it seems like they're everywhere. And so Brotherhood of Steel had them. And if you go, can't remember what it's called. Do I have it? Oh, in the Citadel. You find alien power cells in the Citadel if you look. And those are ones that the Brotherhood has just kept around. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. And then in 2241, a faction from Fallout 2 called, the short name is the She. They have a longer name. But they also found unidentified aliens and spacecraft. In New Vegas, if you have the Wild Wasteland trait, you can encounter 3 live Zetans and their ship. And and in Fallout 4, if you reach level 20, you can watch a UFO crash out of the sky and land near Oberlin Station, where you then will follow a fantastic green blood trail to find an injured alien, which you can then kill and loot.
That's great. And in 76, there are hints of alien stuff around. There is a location where there are restraints, I believe, in like one of the hidden... I need to look into this more because I came across it in the game and I didn't look into all the details around it. But there are some bunkers that you can unlock. And there are what appear to be alien stuff in one of the bunkers with some restraints and things, like some place that they had captured one and were doing experiments or something on that. It might have to do with the Flatwoods monster. So yeah, this is something that has been in the game since the very beginning. And this isn't a Bethesda invention. A lot of people like to say that the Bethesda games are wackier and sillier than some of the earlier games, but This is something that's been in it from the very beginning, and Bethesda has carried forward in their storytelling. So it's been around for a long time. Any last thoughts on aliens?
I think, we don't know.
I think we just don't know anything. I love how people use the acronym UFO to mean alien ship when it just means unidentified flying object.
It could mean anything.
Have you ever seen a UFO? Well, yes, I have. There are plenty of things I've noticed flying in the sky, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So yes, that always is funny to me. Well, cool. Well, let's move into the middle of the show, and then we will come back at the end of the show, and we will chat with some of you guys live and answer some of your questions, because I know some of you guys have some questions and some thoughts. So whether you have questions or just thoughts on some of the stuff that we've mentioned, feel free to drop that in chat while we go through the middle of the show stuff, and we'll reference it in just a little bit.
Hello there, old chap. Good to see another of General Atomic's finest, still eager to serve.
So, as always, you can help support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/FalloutLorecast. Our patrons are amazing. We are at above $400 a month, which means by the end of this month, if we stay there, we'll be doing a giveaway. We'll be giving away something to our patrons, and everybody who's a patron gets an entry in. If you are a higher tier patron, you get more entries in, and you could potentially get a bundle of t-shirts and stickers and all sorts of fun Fallout Lorecast swag that I will be sending to you. So now's your chance to sign up if you'd like to be involved with that. Also, patrons at a level 4 will get to join us at the end of the month, or the end of the month episode where we have the patron chat. So you've got that as well. There's lots of other things you can get as well, including anybody who, I believe it's tier 2 or higher, gets access to all of the pre-show and post-show chat from the patron episode, which is of course always fun and silly. So there's lots of things you can do to help support the show with Patreon. And there are also other ways to support the show through our sponsors, and we have a number of sponsors, including a brand new sponsor who I need to add to the show notes this week because we are now sponsored by audiobooks.com, which I'm super excited about, and we have a very special deal. A lot of places are giving away 2 free audiobooks with sign up. When you sign up for free, you get 2 audiobooks for that first month, and then you can sign up after that and continue to get audiobooks through their subscription model. With us, you can get 3 books, 1 regular book and 2 VIP books, which is a super great deal. So if you're looking for free books to listen to, then this is an absolute awesome deal. Check the link in the show notes, use that, get yourself a few books for the next few months, and you start listening. So that's one of our sponsors. If you are interested in the other sponsors, we have things like Loot Crate and Gamefly and Green Man Gaming and NordVPN, and we've got deals for a bunch of different stuff. So just check the show notes and you'll find all sorts of stuff there. All right, let's get back to the rest of the episode.
If you have any questions about Nuka World, I'd be delighted to answer them.
All right, we are at the part of the show where we get to wrap things up and chat with you guys. Thank you for all of you for being here. And thanks again to Tooniversal. If you guys don't follow Tooniversal on Twitch, you need to. He streams Fallout 76 every day and has been doing an awesome job. He's one of my favorite streamers to watch Fallout 76. And some of his crowd is here today because he's hosting us. We have some questions in chat. So we got a question here.
Wasteland
from Patriot
bouncing jello face.
Patriot Games USA. What does the Enclave know about the aliens? That's one of the things we speculated in the earlier part of the episode, was that because the Enclave is connected to people who are among the Enclave are also people who are movers and shakers politically and among some of the most important people in the country, in the United States during the time of the war. So scientists, CEOs of corporations, people like that chances are they had extensive knowledge of whatever alien technology was found at the time. So I think you can probably say that's most likely a definite, and it may explain some of the advances in Enclave technology even after the war. Shades 303 writes here, do you think there's going to be an alien legendary run? Lainey, the legendary run is the board game that you play through as you collect points in 76. It's one of the new things they put out. It's really cool. The current one that actually rolls out tomorrow, I believe, is like G.I. Joe style themed. It's like military. The previous one was like space adventure type stuff. But yeah, I totally expect there to be like an alien, a legendary run, a Brotherhood one, a number of different Nuka-Cola one. Like there's going to be some for all sorts of different things, I would think. So Patriot Game says, does the NCR have any hints about aliens? I don't remember anything from the NCR. Did you come across any of that?
I didn't find anything
in your research. Yeah. Caesar's Legion or House. Mr. House was influential at the time. I don't know that there are there's not specific evidence that he had access to alien technology, but being that he was somebody who was in the know and very, very influential pre-war, I wouldn't doubt that he might have known something, or at least known about them. But I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence that he was using alien technology as such. Most of the technology he's using was all regular technology, like the the robots that he employed, the technology in his casinos, those kinds of things. The Rook Gaming says, do you think that Brotherhood hid the fact there were more bodies because they found tech that had yet to be discovered? Yes. The Brotherhood is extremely secretive with all of their things. And we're talking here about a time during the period of the first 100 years after the war. So we're talking Fallout 1 time frame. And the Brotherhood during Fallout 1 was very, very isolated. They were very remote. And the only reason that the protagonist of Fallout 1 even gets into the bunker is because you go on what is supposed to be a quest that is supposed to kill you, and somehow you survive and get them what they need. And they're astonished and go, okay, well, maybe you'll be useful to us. But you're not initiated as a member of the Brotherhood in Fallout 1. You are not told their secrets, none of that stuff. The information you get from it is very, very limited at that time. The Brotherhood by Fallout 3 is way more open to outsiders and bringing in information and sharing information. They're still pretty closed off, but they're way more open than other groups of the Brotherhood, like in Fallout 1 or Fallout 4. So yeah, I could totally see that being a thing. What do you think, Lainey?
I agree. I think that if they knew anything, they absolutely would keep it a secret. It gives them a one-up against everyone else, especially if they don't know how prominent aliens might be in other areas of the world, or the world, but I guess the wasteland, or who else has alien technology. If they think that it's something that can differentiate them from the rest of the wasteland and make sure that they have the power, absolutely, Brothers of Steel is going to keep that as much of a secret, as much of lockdown that they can. Yeah,
I agree. Okay. So we have a few more questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. Beelzebub writes, I heard something about Preston Garvey having connections to Elder Scrolls. Yeah, there's all sorts of weird theories out there about characters connected to the Fallout and Elder Scrolls connecting together. Our interview with Pete Hines on the Fallout Hub, he very clearly said, guys, if it's in there, it's just a silly little Easter egg that some developers put in. There's no official connection. So chances are it's nothing more than just, a little bit of an Easter egg. Most of the theories people come up with are totally not even that. They're just really reaching at stuff. Let's see. We have one more, maybe two more. Do the aliens know about humans knowing about aliens? That's a good question. I would guess yes. I think probably. I imagine that after the Area 51 California crash incident, definitely they think that people are onto them. Mm-hmm. So the Rook Gaming has a good question, and we'll wrap this one up. We'll wrap the episode up with this question. What do you all think about Vault Tech using living aliens to create the vault, its experiments, and so on? Well, I have to stop here. Nicholas Booz, thank you for subscribing to the Patreon. We just got a notification. Appreciate it. Welcome to the Patreon. So using living aliens to create the vault, its experiments, and so on. We know that Vault Tech was most likely connected to the government, and if they were connected to the government, they may have had connections also to the Enclave. Those three entities may have actually been closer to each other than we know. If that's the case, they may have had access to alien technology, which means things like cryo-freezing could have been something that was carried over from alien spacecrafts and used in Vault 111. The use of living aliens to create the vault, its experiments, and so on, I'm not sure about that. Do you have any thoughts? I think it'd be difficult to control. Yeah, from what we know about the aliens, they are just kind of wild and crazy seeming. Mm-hmm. You play the expansion, the Mothership Zeta, and they and they just attack you and run around. There's no communicating with them. There's no negotiating. We're gonna laser zap you in the face, die humans, very traditional 1960s B movie aliens, right? So I imagine if they're intelligent enough to have the technology that they have to make it to our planet to essentially, take advantage of us and use us, what business would they have trying to work with us in any way? Or even if we forced them to, why would they cooperate? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't know that it's a fun idea. I really like the idea of Vault Tech bossing some aliens around, but yep. I don't see it working out. Yeah. So those were great questions. I imagine like the Aliens and Mars Attacks. Yes, which were a play off of the 1960s B movie Aliens. Totally. Yeah, so thank you for the questions. Those were awesome. I hope you guys join us again next Monday. It's always nice to have you guys in the chat and asking questions and contributing to the show. It's really nice to have your thoughts. I love hearing other people's thoughts and questions about these things because there's only so much I can think of and only so much I or Lainey can research and come up with. Also, you're noting the Brotherhood flag behind me. Yeah, I've got an Enclave flag over there too. They came in the loot crate, so go look up old Fallout loot crates and you'll find some of those, and use the link in the show notes and the code to get 15% off. Wink, wink. All right. So that's it. Lainey, you have anything else cool going on before we sign off and get into playing Fallout 76 and getting your character up and running?
That's the coolest thing I have going on.
That's it. That's your whole entire life. Congratulations.
That's all of it.
And
my whole life has led up to this point.
And Kat's pooping in the room next to you.
And Kat,
if you missed the pre-show, that was the pre-show conversation. Ooh. So, and the cat behind you right now in the video.
That is the culprit.
Awesome. You guys can talk with Lainey on the Discord. You can even just at Lainey now, right? That's even though your official name is different. You can just at Lainey, Laney. You guys know where to find me, all the different regular places, and that's going to be it for this episode. We're going to play the outro. We'll chat with you guys some more, and then we're going to switch over to streaming some Fallout 76. All right, thanks, everybody. Stay safe in the wasteland, and if you happen to see some Zetans flying around in the sky, try not to get captured and cryo-frozen, because who knows? Maybe 400 years from now, you'll end up in the next version of Fallout, like Fallout 110 or something. I don't know how many they'll be out 400 years from now. All right, here we go. See you guys later. To plug into everything else we're doing, check out robotsradio.net. Also, look up the Robots Radio YouTube for videos about Fallout and other things. And check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/robotsradio. This podcast was brought to you in part by our patrons at patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast, including our Tier 5 patrons. Thank you so much to Firewriter for supporting the show. Also, if you're interested in business inquiries, advertising on the show, or applying to be a podcast on the Robots Radio Network, send me a message at falloutlorecast@gmail.com or robotsnetwork@gmail.com.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.